The International Court of Justice has been asked by the UN's General Assembly to provide advice on whether Israel's occupation of the Palestinian territories is illegal, with a particular focus on the West Bank and East Jerusalem, which Israel's occupied since 1967. More than 50 countries are giving evidence in hearings before the World Court, and the United States is one of the few countries supporting Israel. It's defended the military occupation, arguing that Israel faces very real security needs, also urging the World Court not to call for Israel to immediately withdraw from the Palestinian territories.
Under the established framework, any movement towards Israel's withdrawal from the West Bank and Gaza requires consideration of Israel's very real security needs. We were all reminded of those security needs on October 7, and they persist. Regrettably, those needs have been ignored by many of the participants in asserting how the court should consider the questions before it.
Instead, the US argues that only the establishment of an independent Palestinian state alongside Israel can lead to long-lasting peace. But that prospect seems more elusive than ever. Today, the Israeli parliament, the Knesset, has given overwhelming support opposing the declaration of a Palestinian state. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu saying it's a message to the international community, including the United States, that it won't be pressured into making a long-term peace deal.
Now, Palestinian officials say dozens of people have been killed in the latest round of Israeli strikes on Gaza, including more than a dozen members of one family in the southern city of Rafah. The Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza says the death toll from the war has now climbed to more than 29,000, with close to 70,000 others injured. Israel has intensified operations in Khan Yunis as it seeks out Hamas militants and aims to destroy their infrastructure. At the damaged Nasser hospital, the World Health Organization and other agencies have been evacuating patients after a raid by the IDF there.
You can think about the worst situation ever. You multiply by 10, and this is the worst situation I have seen in my life. It's the debris, the light, working in the darkness, patients everywhere.
More than 1.5 million people have fled the fighting to Rafah, Gaza's southernmost city on the border with Egypt. Refugees are forced to live in tents. Food and drinking water are in short supply, and Israel has called for the evacuation of the area, flagging it will soon be targeted. But those displaced say there's nowhere to go.
3 displaced families fled to Rafah city as it is safe in Rafah and there were no bombings. We were stunned at night. There were 3 families here on the ground floor and another one on the upper floor. There were 9 people. The building was bombed at night as its inhabitants were inside. There were children, unarmed civilians and innocents.
Hundreds of trucks carrying essential supplies are lined up on the Egypt side of the border to Gaza. The flow of aid entering the territory has essentially dried up in recent weeks. The United Nations says it's unable to deliver supplies after its staff came under fire.
Whatever access we have to the north has to be done from the south, which makes it extremely difficult because of the situation in the south. It makes it very difficult because we need to go through some very complex deconfliction mechanism with the Israeli forces, which currently is not working as it should.
Israel launched its assault on Gaza in retaliation for the deadly rampage by Hamas and other militants in southern Israel on October the 7th, when about 1,200 people were killed and more than 250 others taken hostage into Gaza. Israeli officials allege staff from the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees were involved, and several countries, including Australia, have since suspended funding for the organisation.
The idea that UNRWA should do more in terms of proving its neutrality. We in UNRWA have worked tirelessly with all our major donors, including Australia, to show that there is a zero tolerance policy. And that's why the 12 workers who were alleged, and it's not an allegation that's been proven, to have been involved in the 7th of October attacks have been dismissed. So there was no due process. I say to Penny Wong, I say to the Australians, aid must be restored because you are now complicit in a slow-motion massacre.
Efforts are underway to broker a new ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas to pause the fighting and to allow the release of more hostages from Gaza. A member of Israel's war cabinet says signs are encouraging.
There are attempts to promote a new outline and initial signs that indicate the possibility of moving forward. We will not stop looking for the way, and we will not miss any opportunity to bring the girls and boys home.